Joining me now is Nationals MP Michael McCormack to talk all things Bondi Royal Commission and more. Michael, 32 of the nation's top intelligence defense experts, including former Governor David Hurley and former Australian Secret Intelligence Service head Paul Simon, have signed an open letter calling on Labor to establish this Royal Commission. They wrote that anti-Semitism and Islamist extremism pose serious national security challenges, and establishing a federal royal commission into anti-Semitism and Islamist extremism is a vital step to help Australia overcome these serious challenges. Michael, we're hearing talk that a royal commission could be called imminently. How concerned are you that the Prime Minister will write the terms of reference in such a way that some things that might be unpleasant for the Labor Party to talk about will be excluded?
Well, the Prime Minister has to stop having a tin ear and just call a royal commission. The Prime Minister must listen to this clamour of experts, whether they're either top silks, whether they are intelligence agents, former politicians of his own side, and just call a royal commission. And when he does so, the recommendations have to be open-ended enough so that we can see what the nub of the real issue was at Bondi. And that was anti-Semitism, that was the rise of radical Islam, and that was making sure that this never happens again. And how do we achieve that? And nothing else will not be acceptable by the community at large, James.
Yeah, but Michael, I'm concerned that there's a lot of people in the Australian Labor movement that still just don't seem to get it. The Australian website is reporting just now that there is a group within Labor and on the left now that are pushing for Anthony Albanese to cancel a visit by Israeli President Isaac Herzog early in this year to where he was going to come to pay his condolences and offer Israel's condolences to the victims of the Bondi massacre. They're saying, well, no, he's not welcome, and Anthony Albanese should cancel that visit. They don't get it, do they?
Well, you can only imagine that it just comes down to votes. Why else would they do it, James? Why else? What other possible reason would there be other than, quite frankly, votes? And I know you don't want to politicise these things, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. And then, of course, we've got next month being sworn in Philip Bolton, SC, appointed by New South Wales Attorney General Michael Daly, who has been vociferous in criticism of the special envoy set up to rid this country supposedly of anti-Semitism. We had Justice Belinda Rigg go against the New South Wales Police Commissioner and indeed the Premier, and allow that August 3 Sydney Harbour Bridge protest to take place. So not only are we being let down by, indeed, the Prime Minister, we're also being let down by, sad to say, the Judiciary. And I'm glad to see that New South Wales Police Commissioner Mal Lanyon has extended by a fortnight that prohibition of protests. I spoke to him just the other day. I thanked him for what he's done, and he's been very strong and he's been very forthright in his comments, as has, I have to say, Premier Mintz. But we've been let down badly in Canberra, and we've been let down by the highest office in the land, and that is occupied by none other than Anthony Albanese.
You mentioned Chris Minns, the Premier here in New South Wales, who has received so many kudos for his handling of anti-Semitism since really the October 7th attacks. There's a lot of talk now that they might wind up doing a joint royal commission between the federal government and New South Wales. Is Albanese trying to maybe get a little bit of that glory reflected on him, tying himself to Minns, who seems to be much better and at hitting the emotional tone and the note that is required in these things?
Oh, well, who would know, James? I mean, he's put in place that Richardson review, and Dennis Richardson has done some fine things. And look, there's nothing wrong with the departmental review, which will report back quickly, which will provide some answers. But what we need is an exhaustive, thorough investigation into why this occurred. And that cannot happen without a royal commission, and it cannot happen unless Anthony Albanese decides to show some gumption, some inner fortitude, call one, and make sure that the terms of reference, make sure that they are very much what the community would expect, so that we never have to endure what those poor 15 families are enduring now. And, of course, the last of the victims was buried today. And if for no other reason, James, do it for little Matilda. He should be doing it for little Matilda.
Absolutely right. Perfectly said. Michael, I note that you're in Wagga Wagga tonight here, but you may be making that long drive up the Hume Highway a bit sooner than expected if Parliament does get recalled before Australia Day. Yet, even though you might get Parliament called back to deal with hate speech and gun control legislation, you haven't seen anybody. Nobody has seen any of the draft legislation yet. Are you concerned that the changes will be rushed through Parliament? And is there going to be enough time to really work through some pretty complicated issues, particularly around speech, which will involve almost surely constitutional challenges?
Well, that's a very good point, James. And I hope we sit for as long as it takes so that we can do a proper review of any legislation, be it guns, and I don't think we need to change our gun laws. They're the tightest in the world as it is now, or amongst the tightest in the Western world. It's not guns is the problem; it's anti-Islam. Radical Islam is the problem. That's the issue. Our law-abiding farmers and recreational shooters don't do this sort of thing. They do not. Radical Islam is the issue. It's not guns, but guns. Guns don't kill people. It's people with murderous intent killing people. That's the problem. But we need to have a good, long, hard look at any legislation that is proposed, that any legislation is put up. And if we have to sit there until the wee small hours of the night, and if we have to sit right until Parliament was due to go back in February anyway, well, so be it. That's what our jobs is. That's what our jobs are there to do. We are there to serve the people of Australia, to get the right legislation, to make the right laws, to make it a safer and secure place for our citizens. And anything less, well, we're failing, we're abrogating in our responsibility and our duty. So I don't care how long it takes. I don't care if I have to sit there for, as Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg and I did during the initial stages of COVID. We sat there for 18 hours day after day, making sure we had JobKeeper in place and the right provisions to save people's lives and to save their livelihoods. So if it takes something like that for all of the Parliament, well, so be it. That's what we're paid to do, and we're paid well enough. So let's do the job that the people have entrusted us to do.